Hi guys. I'd like to talk a little bit about the sociology behind the flat earth proponents. And so I just jotted down some notes here in my WordPad. Um, One thing almost entirely incorrigible to admission of error once they publicly proclaim a flat earth. So a lot of the flat earth proponents are incorrigible. They will not be corrected. They'll just keep on going and believing it because their ego is at stake, their pride is at stake. This resistance is strongly rooted in ego and is strong denial to admission of error based out of fear of being shamed. I mean, obviously, if you take a flat earth position, you're already going to be embarrassed to publicly disseminate it or talk about it amongst your family or friends or coworkers or whatever. So you're developing this little insulated YouTube community, which is becoming a herd subculture, and it's erroneous. If a flat earth proponent becomes more vocal or more influential to the group, it becomes even more probable that they will retract and admit the correct model being spherical concave. So yeah, I mean, the more vocal, the more popular one becomes within the flat earth theory, it's going to be much more difficult to retract or to admit they were wrong. However, there are a few exceptions, which I applaud. People that I have noticed have changed. They have gone from flat to concave, and it is a humble act of contrition on their part, and so I applaud them for that. But some of the more popular ones, the ones with egos, the ones who have other incentives, whether it be monetary or whatever, it's going to be more difficult for them to switch over. Critics of flat earth theory can annihilate them with facts that completely disprove it, but the proponents resiliently persist in their proclamation, which is fueled by the group herd mentality. So it's like this old jalopy car just chugging along down the street. It's hobbling along, the tires are flat, the windows are busted out, it's dented all over, it's rusted all over, everything is falling apart, bolts and springs are falling out of the car and everything, and they're just like happily, oh yeah, I'm just gonna keep going, I mean, so that to me is I marvel at something like that, where it seems like it's almost like there's this resiliency that can only be indicative of some kind of group mentality of ignorance. We're just gonna go along, and they're committing the same sin as the heliocentrics do, the heliocentrists do. Ignorantly gonna believe in this ball spinning Earth. So you're committing the same fallacy there. Most proponents of flat Earth theory rely on conversation as opposed to presenting experimentation. This is replete. This is like, one of the axioms of flat Earth proponents is conversation. That's all they have is conversation and gab and talk and rhetoric. Like Mark Sargent, you can be this eloquent orator, talking in a grandiloquent way and persuading people, but in the end, that's all you have is vacuous rhetoric. You don't have experimentation, and the experimentation that you do present, not you, Sargent, but other people, is lacking. It's selective. It's not understanding the whole of the situation. Like if you do a little light experiment, it's only done on a small scale model. You're not understanding that light bends, but it's over a vast distance. So if there is experimentation, it's done with a faulty ideological assumed foundations. Assumed foundations, you're assuming light being straight. Well, light does not work being straight on a flat earth model. Does not work being straight on any model for that matter. You can look up Conundrum 74's video. He points out correctly how light has to bend with any model, and so good experimentation which would be the rectilineator, which I'm going to be doing in the spring. Curved light experiments. Now, lasers are, that's another thing too. Laser light is going to bend. Although it's going to probably prove that the Earth is not convex. It's not going to be good enough to accurately measure out, have a reference, have a chord to the arc, have a ruler to the curved surface of the Earth, with like the rectilineator experiment, which forces the line. So, yeah, either lacking in experimentation or your experimentation is poorly presented. Experiments are selective, ignoring curvature of light, okay? So the theory is fueled by emotional reaction. Reaction is a very key word. If you understand my Earth dialectic, which I talk about, the problem being convexity, the reaction being flat Earth. Hey, it appears flat, right? The horizon appears flat, therefore the Earth must be flat is a very base assumption. It's not grounded in fact. It's not grounded in logical, intelligent deduction. You have to ignore the heavens, and you have to replace your ignorance with a answer that is not good enough. The hologram answer is not good enough. That's a scapegoat answer. So let's see here. You're going to remain stagnant, fail in presenting one unified solution. There is not one unified solution to the shape of the Earth or to how the continents are mapped out. Cartography. You have issues with cartography. Distances between continents, distances between cities. They are inaccurate. They're accurately portrayed with sphericity, albeit not convex sphericity. Does it have a dome? Is it an endless plane? There's divisions replete throughout the flat Earth movement, and you guys really need to understand that. House divided cannot stand. You do not have one unified theory, one unified model. So, accurate cartological map is void in your theory. An accurate mapping of the heavens is void. You cannot map out the sun, how it works. The seasons do not work. The sun cannot project its light onto a disk like that and illuminate half of that disk. You have to understand that it would be like a division line going across half of the disk. It doesn't work like that. The moon, you cannot accurately map out the moon. I have accurately mapped out the moon. If you watch my Revolution Moon video, I show you how all the different months of the moon work. The planets, to this day, I've not seen any flat Earth proponent map out the planets with their retrogrades, with the right ascension, with the declination. You just avoid that totally. You avoid everything above the horizon. So you are at fault for not being heavenly minded. You're being earthly minded and not realizing the things above the horizon. This emotional reaction and strong aversion to the ball blinds them from logically considering the ball is concave and that they are inside the ball. So it's a really base, rudimentary assumption that, the horizon appears flat, therefore it's flat. Bad fruit is revealed with division. There's division within the movement. There's infighting with the leaders. There's fighting who wants to be the leader. Selfish gain is prevalent. Monetary desires, a lot of people want them to give them money. They want their GoFundMe account. So there's ego, there's money involved. There's not wanting to be shamed. The fear of embarrassment, that's all prevalent. And so what this movement is doing, it's based in reaction. There can never be a solution once you have a model that is based from reaction, according to the dialectic here. And this is the divine dialectic. This is not a Hegelian or a man-made dialectic. This is a divinely predetermined, pre-orchestrated dialectic, where initially God is going to let man think that they are living on a ball, for the past 500 years. So, but now we're at like the end of days here. Okay, now the reaction is happening, and so where do people go? They adhere to a faulty understanding of the Earth because it appears that way, and because of the popularity of this movement, there is opportunity for the opportunists to infuse their rhetoric and get some kind of gain out of this, selfish gain, monetary gain, whatever, ego. But there never will be a solution with flat Earth theory because it's wrong. when practical science and physics are applied to point out flaws, to point out flat Earth theory errors, cartographic inconsistencies and impossibilities, plane routes. There are direct plane routes in the Southern Hemisphere that do not take more than 13 hours, going from South America to Australia. The pole stars, to this day, nobody has resolved the pole star conundrum. They just hop right over that. It's kind of interesting, the psychology, the sociology involved with this movement. They will just hop right over something, just like that old jalopy car with the busted out windows and the dents and the flat tires, just kind of hobbling down the road and just happily going along. We're not going to look at this. We're just going to ignore this, and hopefully nobody will see this. And so this reaction phase, it's rooted out of rebellion, and it's a rebellion, rightly so, against the powers that be, which obviously have been lying to you, with the convex ball Earth theory, but it's still rebellion. It doesn't mean it's right just because they're rebelling against something wrong. Two wrongs do not make a right. And so what you need to understand is that there is a correct, divinely orchestrated authority, and that resides in me. That resides in humbling yourself and understanding the Earth within, the Earth which you live in, the sphericity, the concave sphericity to the Earth. And that heaven is a literal, real place up in the middle of the Earth. And it's a base, it's an obtuse understanding flat earthers have. If you want to look at the symbology involved, or the conspiracies, or the symbology, look at the pyramid. Look at the power source of the pyramid. You got to understand that the powers that be, the people who have been lying to you all this time, the Masons, right? They know all about the pyramid. They know that the pyramid is a real place. It's hidden. It's occultic. I mean, from their vantage point, why would they tell you when you do not even realize that it's there? It's hidden behind the celestial sphere, behind the curtain of the celestial sphere. Right? Verily thou art a God that hideth thyself. So, the truth is there for the persistent, for the humble, for the intelligent, for the meek to understand. It's right there. And it's not going to be found in the reaction phase. The reaction phase is a perversion. And it will always be a perversion because you're in an emotional reaction mode of understanding things. The herd remains oblivious to the fact that they are repeating the same sociological ideologies as the heliocentric proponents. You're committing the same sin as them. Selective reasoning foisted by apparent perceptions. The horizon appears flat. The Bible appears to allude to a flat earth. Well, you don't understand that Scripture, or your illogical deduction or misinterpretation of Scripture, is rooted out of not understanding that you have to logically conclude that some apparent references in Scripture are given to the ancient, ignorant culture in a relatable way. The average sheep herder is not going to understand the concave earth in which they live. So it's that relatable atmosphere, that relatable attitude that God has to his people. But there are good scriptural references that allude to the concavity of the earth, especially the book of Job. Heaven is a real place within the earth, Job 38. God walks in the circuit of heaven, Job 26. Job 1, Satan walks to and fro within the earth. And so, you're vacuous in understanding that. And what you do is you apply rhetoric. You have talk shows, you have radio shows, you have people with eloquent oration skills like Mark Sargent, who just think that they can get away with just saying that if you want the stars to revolve either counterclockwise or clockwise, you can do it because it's all within a gaming simulation standpoint or atmosphere. No. Well, even in a gaming atmosphere, things are in a 3D virtual environment. Okay, we still can accurately map and project out the heavens, albeit within the reality, light is bending, so it's causing a trick to the eye. So there's an inversion that takes place. You know, in reality, our perception is not going to give you an accurate understanding of things. We have a ball in the sky. We have a ball of stars in the sky. We have a disco ball that spins in the sky. But we don't see it as a disco ball because of the way that light bends. Light bends upward toward the center of the earth. So it's this mentality, this herd mentality, it's going to pass. It's I would probably think, or like to think, that 2016 will be the year of concave, just as 2015 was the year of flatness. And I see that growing. I see people, people are sending me messages, intelligent people, people in the professions, the engineering professions, the surveying professions, and they're affirming what I'm presenting to be reality, to be the case, that we are inside the sphericity of the concavity of the earth, with the understanding that there was a divine ruse that has taken place. And the people that are waking up to this, the people who are like just leaving flat earth theory because it doesn't have enough content, it leaves people wanting more. They're not going to find it, and so they're entering into the concave understanding of things, the solution to the dialectic, or the solution phase to the dialectic. And they're understanding that, and they understand that this is the concave earth is weighted. There's weight to it. There's, issues are resolved, mysteries are resolved, phenomenon are resolved. The Gegenschein, or selenelion, where we see the sun and the moon during a lunar eclipse above the horizon. Everything makes sense because we have this glass sky that creates this illusion of perception, and things are placed in order. There's no more confusion. The solution is there in the concavity of the earth. So welcome to Concave Earth.